Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Melo Meresco. We have another awesome guest today. We have Cassandra. She's a graphic designer and she's a singer-songwriter with 2 singles out, Dimelo and Very Well, which I'm super excited. And if you haven't listened to it, definitely go check it out after this podcast episode. But with that being said, Cassandra, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. This is like my second online interview podcasting. So I'm just excited to share my story and hopefully meet more people that connect with my experiences.
Yeah, I definitely recommend the songs. Like I've listened to it and it could be a repeat forever. So definitely go check it out. All right. Let's start with the first question. So how did it all started? Like I know you mentioned you're a graphic designer or were a graphic designer and then artist and yeah. So tell us like how that process
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, in middle school, I took a painting class and my teacher was like, "You are really good." And obviously, like when you're in like sixth grade, you're still like trying to find yourself. You're like, I don't know what I like, but yeah, I took a painting class and my teacher was like, "Yeah, you should really pursue art." And so for a long time, like I mainly focused on like painting, drawing classes, like AP art portfolio stuff. So when I got to high school, I took drawing one, drawing two, and I was going to go into AP portfolio, but I didn't really like the teacher. And background aside from that, I've always been like a LimeWire kid, so like that's probably showing my age. But I used to like download songs off the internet and make mixed CDs. So
Mhm.
when I got to like sophomore year, I was curious and I was like, okay, I've always loved music. I want to like learn how to like play piano or guitar. So me and my best friend, my sophomore year, we took piano and guitar class, and it was like re-falling in love with music. Like my dad, he's a singer, so growing up, like we always had music in the house, and on my mom's side, my grandfather, he liked a lot of like classic hard rock. And so he just always showed us music. And so when I took the piano and guitar class, I was like, okay, I really like this. Like, this is super cool. So then the next year, I took musical theater and theater. And so I started like auditioning for like musicals in school. I was actually in like Greece, and I was there's this really weird one. It's called Sweeney Todd, but I was like one of the background singers for that. And so it was like a cool space for me to like explore a different type of art, because like I think when I was younger, it's just like, people tell you to do something, so you do it. And so as time progressed, I became more passionate about singing and music. But unfortunately, I think like the lane of musical theater and like fine arts, like the type of voice that I have doesn't necessarily complement those type of
Mm,
like musical forms. And so I had like
yeah.
more of a softer tone, and so I didn't really like do as well as I wanted to. And so when I left high school, I was like, okay, maybe music isn't my thing, maybe like I'm not a good singer, nobody wants to tell me.
Mm,
So when I got to college, I took a drawing class again, because I was like, you know what, I need an elective and this is just like what I'm good at, so like let's see where it goes. And then my art teacher, after the end of the class like semester, she like pulled me to the side and she was like, I need you to know you're really good at art. Like you're really good conceptually, like you have an eye, like composition wise, like you have a lot of talent. I think you should
mm,
really consider pursuing a career in art. And I was like, well, what the heck am I gonna do? Like, am I gonna be painting things for people? Like, what does that even mean? And so she gave me this like booklet, and she was like, look into these different career paths, but I think you should do graphic design. She's like, in the next
mm,
few years, I feel like this is going to be where a lot of like people are going to get their marketing materials. It's where people are going to be able to, find jobs that are a little bit more creative, and people are going to need these, jobs basically in the next few years.
yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. So I started taking like graphic design courses, and I'm getting to the part, but started taking graphic design courses, and soon enough I realized that this is like very very confident, but I was like, oh, I'm very good at this, like
Mm,
I could make money doing this. So I started doing like some little side hustles. So I would like
mm,
DM people on Instagram and be like, hey, like it'd be like small businesses. I was like, do you guys need logos or any flyers for your businesses? Like I do graphic design. And so
mm.
I started showing them like my schoolwork as my like portfolio work. It's kind of like, like hustling a little bit, but I knew how to do the work. And so
Yeah.
eventually I did like a local smoothie place. I did all their
Oh wow.
branding. I did my friend, she like was starting a cookie business, and I did all her stuff. I had like somebody else. I did some like social media management for some like products and stuff. And
Oh
so
wow.
I'm still like cool. I'm still in school, like 2 years in, and I was like, all right, I'm making good money. It's not a lot, but it's definitely a, a good like situation to like
Yeah.
really kind of pursue. So at the time I was working at Trader Joe's and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna quit school and I'm gonna do graphic design. And so I like
Oh.
tried to like get as many clients as I could. And in the process, as I was posting things on my Instagram account, this person who was a photographer reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, we love your work. We want to work with you. I have this artist. She's a really big fan of your work, and I think it'd be cool for you guys to work together." So I was like, "Let's do it." So I hop on a call. It turns out it's like Danny Lay, but Danny Lay at the time wasn't really famous yet, so she was like doing more of her dancing career, and so she was
Mm.
transitioning from dance into music. And she was like, I love your work, like I want to like, I want you to like edit my videos and like do
Oh,
cool
wow.
graphics and stuff. And she's like, the goal is that like maybe we can go viral and you can keep producing content for me. And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. So we made a bunch of content. It was really fun. We built a little bit of like a friendship, and so she just kind of was like, telling me about the music industry. She was telling me about just how people can be really like mean, I guess, if you
Mm.
try to like go from one career path to another. But at the
Mm.
end of the day, like as long as you love what you're doing and you're consistent, like that's really all that matters. And so eventually one of the videos that we made went viral. It was Little Baby. And literally it literally got like I think like 1 million views, and then
Oh,
like
wow.
she tagged me. And so then the next day I had like 20 inquiries about like, hey, can you do my graphics? Hey, can you
Oh,
do my
wow.
stuff? And I was like, oh shoot, like this is dope. So I put in my 2 weeks at my job and I was like, all right, I'm doing this. Like I'm just gonna like go for it. I believe in myself. And we had another video go viral, and then I got another like
Oh,
couple
wow.
inquiries. So like I was set for work for like 8 months. Like I had like a lot of stuff. And so I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. And
Mm.
while I was talking with her, I was sharing with her. I was like, I've always wanted to make music, but honestly, I'll be honest with you, like I'm insecure. Like I didn't have a lot of experiences where people were able to like, like help me build my confidence or reassure me that this was
Yeah.
something that, I wanted to do, like, and like know that I was going to be good at it. I was like, for the most part, like graphic design, art, it's always come very natural to me because of like,
Mm.
me being a kid and like being very creative and explorative. Like my parents really nurtured the art side of me, but I
Mm.
think because my dad didn't have like a good experience in the music industry, like I don't think anybody was like, yeah, you should do this. Because my dad used to
Mm.
write like songs for like he tried to write songs. He didn't like
Mm.
write all of them, but he tried to write a song for like We Sing Yandel and like
Oh, wow.
oh my god, like the 90s or something. And then like he also tried to write songs for like other like reggaeton people in like Puerto Rico. So I think because for him it didn't do well, I think my family
Mm.
was like, I don't know, like what you
Yeah.
like art, let's like push this. So, to tie it all up, because of Danny, I was able to quit my job, like have all this graphic design work, but also like she gave me the confidence and encouragement to like pursue music as an artist and to like give myself the chance to explore it, And she was like,
Yeah.
even if at the end of the day you don't like it, you can at least tell yourself like 20 years later that you did it.
You did it.
You pushed yourself and like you did your best, and that's all anyone can do is their best. And so like not even a year later I worked on like my first song with a friend and he helped me like create it. It's not out. It was like very bad, but I showed her the demo. It was very bad, and she was like, yeah, you should keep going. And she was like, I love this, like obviously, like this is your first song, like there's obviously things that you can do better, but
Yeah.
if this is like a great introduction. And she was like, you should totally do it. So yeah, that was like 2017, 2018. And then I wrote very well in 2020 during the pandemic, but I had a lot
Mm.
of demos 2018, 2019. But at that time I was trying to find my style. But
Mm.
yeah, that's kind of like how it all happened.
That's awesome. And I have a question because you said how you were in school and then you did the graphic design. Like you went to get clients. You didn't finish school.
No,
Did
I
you?
quit. I dropped out.
How did that? Like, did you knew like that was a thing, or did you just like, oh yeah, let me just DM like brands
No.
or companies? Like, how did you figure that out?
So for myself, I am like a I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was because my dad was a hustler, but like I used to sell candy in middle school out of my backpack. I used to take, this is probably illegal, but I used to take people's permit tests in Florida, and they would pay me like $60, and I would like pass the
Oh
test for
wow.
them on the computer because there was like a drug and alcohol one you had to pass before you did the in-person test.
Mm,
So I think naturally I'm just a very big go-getter. So when I
mm.
like realized that I was good at this and I could make money, I was like, I'm just gonna like free ball start emailing people and like finding like, you know, stuff that was local. I think that's why it worked, was because I like
Mm,
targeted small businesses that
yeah.
like were trying. This is before TikTok. This is before like, you know, you could really
Yeah.
find a cool foodies place on Instagram. And so I like DM them and I was like, hey, like, you know, if you need somebody, you need some graphics, you need a menu design, like let me know. And so a lot
Yeah.
of these people were like viejitos, they were older and they were like, yeah, like, oh my God, like we would love that. And so I was really great because then they would recommend to me, and then, you know, other
Yeah.
friends would see like be posting stuff. So like, hey, I have a friend. Like I remember I did like a lawn care business's logo and
Mm.
t-shirts, and it was
Oh
super
wow.
cool. So I think like naturally I'm a very like, this is what I'm good at. I'm gonna go do this. And like, you
Yeah.
know, just do the thing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I feel like that's something like a lot of us need. So that's really awesome
Yeah.
that you were able to like just go and get in, and you saw the opportunities. Like you didn't spend
Yeah.
as you didn't spend time in college where like it might have not been as helpful. Where you're already
Yeah.
getting the experience. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
The next question will be, what were some of the obstacles that you kind of faced? Because in just like graphic design, maybe in the beginning when you started, or even now as a singer songwriter, like what were those obstacles that you're facing? It could be like mindset
Yeah.
stuff, logistics,
Yeah.
like all that, and then how are you trying to overcome those, or how did you overcome the ones that you already worked on?
Yeah, it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot, but I'm really proud of myself because I learned from those experiences, and I feel like I'm in a really beautiful and balanced place mentally, physically, and financially. So in
Yeah.
the beginning, obviously, like when you quit something and you want to pursue your passion, like it's the struggle of like, I've never done this. People before me and my family and my friends have probably never done this either. And so they don't
Yeah.
have anything to share with me. And so a lot of it was trial and error. Like, for example, when I was doing the graphic design, you know, I didn't know, I'm a very naturally trusting person. So
Mm.
at that time, like I didn't know how important contracts were. I didn't know how
Yeah.
important like, you know, knowing your worth and saying like this is a lot of work and they need to pay me a good amount of money. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't really put that together because I was such a hustle make money mentality. I was like, I'm gonna just do whatever I gotta do, you know? So I think over time I burnt myself out because I was taking on too much work and not getting paid
Mm.
enough. And so in order to like, you know, pay my bills and take care of
Yeah.
myself, like I was taking on way too much. And also too, I think like I didn't know the balance of pursuing something and still like making time for those you love. And so there was a
Mm.
good like 2 years where I was so focused on like doing very well in graphic design so that my graphic design could fund my music. So I was like
Mm.
in the studio making music in Miami, also like hustling, making graphic design. And
Yeah.
at some point I got a little like side job because I needed a little bit of money. And so I was working at a restaurant as a server. So I'm like doing all
Mm.
three of these things. And like, you know, to be really honest, like I didn't really have time to spend with my family. I didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of time to like check in with my friends. And when I say friends, I'm a very intentional person. So I mean like the few people that I'm like, I love these people, I'm gonna invest my time and energy into them. But
Mm.
for those 2 years, I couldn't because I was so all over the place. And I think because like when you're so passionate, like you just have this natural drive to succeed. And so like you're
Mm.
gonna do whatever it takes to like make it work. And
Yeah.
so I think that was my mentality. But looking back and you know, I lost some friendships and you know, it's okay. Like things happen. That's life. Like life is, you know, a series of like ups and downs. And
Yeah.
so, you know, with friendships being lost and, you know, maybe losing some of the connection that I had with my siblings, like, and even like my mental well-being, I let a lot of things slide because I was working so
Mm.
hard to like make this thing happen. And unfortunately, like the contracts and like, you know, the stuff with graphic design, I was also very trusting in my music. And I was working with a producer who was gonna like help me produce my first AP. He was going to help me, you know, put together like my artist development. He was going to
Mm.
help me do like, you know, stage performance. Like when you want to be like a full package artist, you have to know how to like work the stage. You have to like have a vocal coach and you have to do all this stuff. And
Mm.
so I was promised all these things. And after a year, it didn't really work out. And because I put a lot of my eggs in one basket and I trusted this person, like
Yeah.
I lost a year of my career. I lost a year that
Wow.
like I could have been putting out music, I could have been producing videos, or even just developing myself as an artist. And so it was a really sad place in 2019 because I was like working to make this happen. And then because of one person, it didn't
Yeah.
happen. So then I had to go into 2020 like, oh my God, what do I do? And then boom, the pandemic happened. And so
Mm.
I think like looking back from the obstacles, like learn to like research things for yourself and also not be afraid to say like, I'm gonna figure this out regardless of like if people
Yeah.
say they're gonna help me or not. And like aside from like, you know, contractual agreements and finances, like setting yourself up to say like, this is how much money I need to make. This is the only amount of money I'm gonna spend. And so like whatever else I have, like, you know, I'm gonna delegate that how I need to. So when I'm not experiencing burnout, I
Mm.
have time to like care for my mental health and maybe,
Yeah.
you know, go to therapy. That was something that I did in the pandemic. And then also like realizing that like at the end of the day, all these things are beautiful and they're great, but like when you look back at your life, if you don't have memories with your family, memories with your friends, memories with like the life, like the quality of life, like going outside, traveling, do
Yeah.
all these things, like your passion, of course, it's beautiful, but at the end of the day, like, you know, like those experiences fuel your creativity. And so
Yeah.
without them, life life gets very dull. It gets very mundane. And so I think those are the things that I like look back and I've said like I've learned and now I have balance and I'm very at peace with the life that I've curated from my experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like with the all the things you said, like burnout, all this stuff, and or like
Yeah.
trying to figure out like contract is like we usually don't have like family members or friends that know these stuff, so we have to like be figuring it out, and that process in itself could be very like lonely, you could say.
Yeah, a
Um,
1000%.
yeah, it's like the same thing with me with the podcast. It's I have nobody in my family who knows how to do that. And it's like, oh, how if I want to ask somebody, oh, how do I grow my podcast? It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like
They don't know.
you gotta figure it out. But yeah, it's really awesome that and that you've been able to like learn from those experiences too. Um, so have there been during that process, because sometimes we get like those books to help us like realize these things or insights or podcasts. Have you like read any books that on personal development, self growth, or podcast
Mm,
episodes?
um, I think I'm a very like personable person, so I think a lot of like in-person connection is really important to
Mm,
me. So I will say I didn't read a lot,
yeah.
but I did go to therapy, and I feel
Mm,
like having my therapist kind of walk me through a lot of that, a lot of those experiences explained why I was working so much. And
mm,
so she helped me break down like my childhood and how it's created this version of me that like seeks fulfillment. I'm a very people pleasing person, but with like
mm,
boundaries and with like personal growth. Like I'm not as people pleasing. I'm more as like these are the things that fulfill me in my life. And like if people want to contribute and be a part of my life, I will give that back to them. But I'm no longer seeking acceptance and love from people that one, like I don't I don't need, and like
yeah.
two, like I can also fulfill myself in those ways. And so for me, I'm a very like I'd say like a faith-based person. I think
Mm,
prayer and like taking time to like really, you know, like manifest my life and say like
yeah.
these are the things I want. And you know, I don't think I've read a lot of materials. I'd like to say I did, but I didn't. I think it was honestly just my therapist and me like sitting down and saying like, okay, like this is the life I want for myself and my future, you know, kids and
Mm,
generations. So like let me slow down and like
mm,
really understand like why I stress myself out. Why do I put so much on my plate? And it's because I saw
yeah.
my parents put a lot of things on their plate. And so it was like that's what I saw, that's what I did. And then I
Yeah.
realized like this is not good for me. This is not good for the overall quality of life that
Yeah.
I should be living. I wish I read more. I mean, I'll be honest, I wish I did. I think a lot of it was just being guided and slowing down and really saying like, okay, I want to envision the life that I think is best for me and like my future self, you know?
Yeah, no, and that's and I feel like with like how you said I had you had your therapist and that's what helped you out, like, and you like even though you say you haven't read like any books, like it sounds like you have a lot of wisdom and like so
Yeah.
much knowledge. So it's like pretty
Oh,
awesome too. So I don't know. It's finding your path on like what works out for you. Because there's like you mentioned how there's like manifestation. Some people don't believe in manifestation, but if they go into the psychology stuff, it's like pretty much the same thing, but it's just a different wording. So it's like
yeah.
it works. It's up to you to choose like what works out
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, and I think also like I had a lot of negative self-talk, which I didn't really know what that
Mm,
was. And so then as I started going to therapy, it was like I'm boxing myself in with like these negative perspectives of life, like that I can't do something or that I'm not good
mm,
enough or I'm not, you know, like I don't have enough confidence to be
yeah.
these things. And so I think like when I started to like pull back that negativity, I was like, oh, there's like goodness, like there's good things that I can work towards and like I can be, you know, joyful, maybe not happy, because I think happy is like the stigma of like you everything has to be perfect, whereas like joy, you can be like joyous about your life and be like, okay, like there's a lot of things going on, but in this moment I'm going to choose joy. And like,
Mm,
you know, when you are sad, you know, like there are still things that you can count on to say like at least I have my family, like things
yeah.
might be burning, but I have like the joy from my family that they love and support me. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that like with joy it goes like gratitude. I think with the books that
Yes.
I've read, there's a lot of like, if you're gonna do one thing, it's like I'll be grateful. Like say every single day what you're grateful for, and then another one
Mm-hmm.
for me is like it kind of goes with like joy is like being at peace. So like
Mm-hmm.
just because like there's like a storm like around you doesn't mean that you and like your inner being can be at peace. So that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have there been any specific like, strategies, like maybe your therapist like kind of like taught you like, because sometimes like for people there's like okay mindset stuff, okay like I get it, but sometimes it's not all like yeah just be positive. It's like strategies and then redirecting your thoughts. So has do you have any strategies that you use that help you out?
I think the biggest thing for me was that because I quit my job so early on in like my young adult development, I never had a schedule. And so I think
Mm.
like like I would do a lot of projects. Like I would literally be working from like 10 a.m. to like 3 a.m. the next day, sleep
Oh
for
my
like
god.
2, 3 hours. Like there was one time I was working on a music video edit and I literally had an air blow up mattress in La Sala and I would like work for like 3 hours, take a nap for 30 minutes, set my alarm, wake up, go back to the computer and work. And so that just explains like
Wow.
how unhealthy I was with time, with sleep, and with like just personal, like I didn't have personal time. The only personal time I had was in the studio making music. That was it. So I think like the biggest thing my therapist was, you know, really trying to emphasize is that one, like you feel so all over the place because there is no structure in your life. The only
Mm.
structure you have is surrounded by your work. And because you're so work oriented, you're so burnt out. And the reason why you feel so lonely is because you're burnt out and you don't have the energy to invest in the people around you that love and care for you and want to
Yeah.
nurture you. So like it becomes this really isolating space, I guess you could say. And so I lived in that space for so long. And then when I finally like I have a partner now, like, you know, we're together, he's really great. When I finally got into a relationship, it was like, oh, I don't know how to show up for this person. I don't know
Mm.
how to like take a break. And so like because of this new relationship that I really wanted to invest in emotionally, I had to sit back and like do some emotional work and realize like wow, like I don't remember the last time I hung out with my family. I don't remember the last time I like had a self-care day. I can't
Yeah.
remember the last time I bought myself new clothes. Like it just was a really scary place. And so she was like, the best thing you can do for yourself is to have a schedule because of
Mm.
the way that my life is, like because I'm working towards so many career goals, like I also need to have other goals in life because one day
Yeah.
I'm gonna maybe be at the place that I want to be and I'm gonna look around and maybe there's no one there. Maybe I don't have any
Yeah.
money. Maybe I don't have like, you know, personal fulfillment in life or, you know, I don't feel purposeful, you know, and she was like, you have
Yeah.
to sit down and say like, okay, I need structure. What am I going to do every day? So for me, that looked like saying, I'm going to set goals for myself every year.
Mm.
And then I'm also going to have goals to have in the week. And then I'm going to have a notebook to help track my progress. And like,
Mm.
you know, as I work through those goals, whether it's like today I need to get this and this done, and then by this time I'm going to rest, or by this time
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to bed. And then the next day would be like, okay, like maybe I didn't finish something yesterday, I'll do 30 minutes of it today, finish my other tasks for the day, and do the other 30 minutes tomorrow, and then by 6 o'clock I rest. And then, I think like she was like, you need to build like a structure for yourself, because there is no structure in your life. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you find balance in your structure, then you can give yourself grace to say like, oh, okay, maybe I'm going to go to the movies because I finished something early.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to go buy a ticket to go see my family and spend a weekend with them because I've saved my money, I've balanced my finances, I've made like a budget. So I think a lot of, for me personally, a lot of it was very practical. It was like, I'm all over the place because I have nothing. So let me create something. So
Mm-hmm.
like, journaling I think was really nice. I got to like journal like, okay, like, to speak to like our, my body, like, when I get my cycle the week before my period, I have to be very gracious with myself because I do have a really hard time motivating, and like
Mm-hmm.
very naturally I'm extremely tired. I'm very moody. So for me, that's like the week before my period, I don't really go out. I don't
Mm-hmm.
pressure myself to finish a lot of the things on my to-do list, and I'm very gracious with myself, but I'm also like eating foods that nourish me. And the week of my period, maybe I can like work on a little bit of, more things, but when it comes to mental health, like I'm giving my space, my mind space and my body space to like process and like be in that phase of, wherever I'm at. So I think before, like I was feeling more lonely, was feeling more depressed because like I'm overworking myself in a time that my body's saying like slow down. So personally for me, like it wasn't really more so mindset so much, because I think
Yeah.
it was just like peeling back the layers of like my childhood and how I
Mm.
developed my perspectives on certain things, and then allowing myself to have structure on like how to approach life. And then as like, you know, like maybe I would feel like depressed or maybe I'd feel lonely. Then I would have space to think through that and like journal
Mm.
it or, whatever. And then encourage myself. I think a lot of it was like I had a lot of negativity. And so I learned how to be positive and like speak positive things over my mind and my body. And so I feel like that's how it was for me. It wasn't more so like training myself to do things or like to
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think it was more practical because of like how messy everything was.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. Like, especially like how you said how your parents like they're all like hustling and stuff. Like we see that as kids, and we was it ingrained that into like how we do things. So it's important like to have these
Mhm.
conversations and become aware of that,
Mhm.
and then try to do things differently. And, like, even though that gets you out of your comfort zone, it's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about a bit about your creativity, like your music videos, because I
Yeah.
know you mentioned or I've seen in your videos in your TikToks where like budget and stuff. Like, how do you make that work? How are you the one who like
Whew.
has a storyline for like how to film those things? Because the videos are awesome. So yeah, like tell us about how that
Aw.
creativity like happens. Like, how do you make that happen?
Okay,
Make that happen?
so backstory, I'm obsessed with music videos. When I was a kid, I had my little VHS TV and I'd be watching MTV music videos and I was living. I remember when like, oh my God, like I remember when I like first discovered YouTube and I was like, what is this? Like, because like I'm like the oldest child, so like a lot of things in life for me finding things, it was never like
Mm,
my parents introducing it. So I
yeah.
found like Facebook, I found MySpace, I found like Twitter, I found Instagram. So I think like from the beginning of like just like as a kid, I really enjoyed music videos. So for me, it almost feels like, how people have like favorite books. I have like favorite videos. Like it's kind of
Mm.
like it's really funny, but I have like I really love them. And like there was even a phase where I was like finding like who are these music video directors, and so
Oh
I was like
wow.
very interested in like their creative process. And I think a few years ago, Genius used to do like this backstory on the people who would produce the music videos. So
Mm,
like there was these guys, they were called brothers, and they produced like a lot of like Travis Scott's early music videos. They did one for
yeah.
Selena Gomez. They did one for Galiucci's. And so like I was just very interested in their process. And so naturally, I think like music videos for me are so personal because of my interest in them.
Yeah.
And like I love storytelling. I think like for as long as I can remember, I love telling stories. Like when I would play with my toys with like my brats and like all my Barbies and stuff, like me and my sister would be up until the story was done. Like, she had to get married, she had a kid, the house burned down. Like, literally, my sister would be falling asleep on the floor, and I'm like, we have to finish. So I think like that's just always how I've been. I love that like aspect. So for me, going into music videos, since a lot of my songs are very like they're almost like self-reflections, or they're almost like stories that I'm telling of like my experiences. Like, I want the music videos to feel like that. Maybe not always exact representations of it, but I want someone to watch and feel that intention from the songwriting. So like for Very Well, this is actually a really crazy story, but I used to have really, really bad acne. And part of like the therapy that I was going to was like I had so much negativity on how I viewed myself. Like, it would be so bad I wouldn't even make eye contact with people. I would wear like a lot of hoodies because I was very insecure, because sometimes the acne would go down towards like my jawline. And so I was very, very like very low on confidence. And so with like learning and getting money and like, you know, all that stuff, I was like learning about my skin and how to take care of it. And I had cystic acne, and there was just a lot of things that I needed to do that no one in my family had. Like, I'm a mixed kid, so my dad is like very dark skinned, very rough, very oily. My mom, she's like fair skinned and like dry. So I think I just like came out with very sensitive skin, like an ivory tone. Like, I don't like my skin doesn't react well to the sun. There's just a lot of things. And so like I just didn't know that growing up. But all that to say, like, Very Well, when I eventually like started like healing my skin and learning to have more positive self-talk and affirmations, and building my confidence of like, today I don't feel beautiful, but I am beautiful. Like, today I feel bummy, but like, you know, I want to love on my skin, so I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to do a couple routines, and like my hair's frizzy, you know, but I'm going to like take care of it because it's my hair and I love my hair. And you know, as you like transition from like being beautiful for other people instead of like that, I was like, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to love myself. And through that, I was like, I enjoy like making myself feel like this because it makes me feel good, not because I want to like please people or impress people. And so eventually, when I had like got like, not the end of it, because I feel like it's still a daily journey, but like when I was like more so on the healed side of it, me and my boyfriend during the pandemic, we wrote Very Well. And I was like, let's write this song to like my future self. Like, the day that I feel really like really bad about myself, like I want to have a song that like reminds me that like I'm beautiful. And like, you know, we sat down and we put the song together, and then the video came so natural because I was like, I want everyone to feel beautiful. And I was like, I want all skin types, I want hair types, I want little girls. I wanted like a couple abuelitas, but we couldn't find them in Miami, because I wanted everyone to know that every phase and every age of life, like, you are beautiful. Like, beauty is not like a standard. Like, there is no standard of beauty. Beauty is appreciated. Like, you know, like just your eyes, you see something, you're like, that is beautiful. That's beautiful. Like, people didn't really start, you know, saying things were ugly until like, you know, like we start getting like different opinions or perspective of things. Cause like life is beautiful. People are beautiful. There's beauty everywhere, but like, it's just on your perspective and how you choose to see life. So when we wrote that song, I was like, we need everything. I want all the like skin tones. I want everyone to really feel beautiful. And for that music video specifically, we had 2 shooting days, and I remember we would have like 40 girls, 50 girls in the room at a time. Wow. And every time we'd have a switch over of a scene, it'd be a new introduction of girls. But throughout the whole day, everyone was like, I've never felt more empowered ever. And like, there were girls who had never been in music videos before, and they were like, I never even saw myself doing something like this, but I feel so good. And like, we had a bunch of makeup, we had some wine, we had like, you know, all these really cute outfits for the girls to pick from. And like, everyone left feeling so empowered and feeling so confident and feeling so excited to express their, you know, idea of femininity, their persona. And it was like, you know, however they, you know, chose to express themselves, they were all like, I love this. Like, everyone left feeling so good. And so when I watched that video, for me, it's so sentimental and it's so beautiful, because I'm like, this is how people should feel. Like, when people hear this song and like watch the music video, like, those feelings were all bottled up in that, you know, the song and the video, that like I'm just like, I feel like people are so slept on it. I'm like, it's such an empowering moment. So yeah, all that to say, like, I'm very detailed. I am very like,
Yeah.
I want people to feel like when you watch a movie and you're like, dang, that was such a good movie. Like, I want people to reflect like that. But like sometimes I don't have the money to like make things all crazy. So like you're saying, like, how do you get these budgets? I think a lot of it happens with like, I have so many great friends that I've met over the years living in different cities, and people just like believe in me because they're like,
Mm.
I like Cassandra as a person, and I want to see Cassandra win. So like whatever we can do to like be there to support her as a friend, like, all right, we're gonna find someone to do makeup, we're gonna find someone to do hair, like we're gonna go like thrift some outfits from Goodwill, or we're gonna like,
Mm.
do all this stuff. So I feel like I'm very blessed in the sense that I have a lot of beautiful people around me that want to see me win, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. I think a
Mm.
lot of people are scared to ask for help,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I'm doing this thing, like, do you want to help? Like, no pressure, you don't have to. And people are like, yeah, let's do it. So I feel like that's how I've been able to make things work, because I don't have a lot of money to do this yet, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
as I get more monthly streams, and I sell more merchandise, like I can invest all that money back into the music. But I'm not there yet, little by
Yeah.
little. But hopefully this year my goal is to release 6 songs
Oh wow.
and an EP before November, with like those 6 songs, or maybe like another 3 or 4, and I'll have more music for people to enjoy.
Oh, that's awesome. And how do you with the because I feel like with social media you're able to get like there's more ways of making money, you could say. So have
Mm-hmm.
you done like brand collaborations and stuff like that to help you
I've
out?
done I've done 2 as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
In my journey as a graphic designer, I've definitely done a few more. I had like a collab 20 it was 2021 with Macy's, where I got to
Oh
like
wow.
kind of introduce some of my music, but it was mainly as like a graphic designer. So like they paid me to style like men's clothing to show that like they're unisex. Like they wanted to push the idea
Mm.
that they're like, non-gender clothing. So I got a couple
Yeah.
outfits together and I did that. So that was like more for like the graphic design. For music this year, I had one last year and then I had one this year. So last year there's this app called Rap Chat, and
Mm.
so they were trying to like diversify the app to like basically show that like not only rappers could use the app and
Mm.
record music in the app, but singers can. So I sang Limalo, and I like tried to like retrack my vocals in this app. And so my friend, she works for the company, and so she was like, hey, like I think
Mm.
like you'd be such a great personality for this little ad that we have to create. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I did that last year, and then this year I did one for this company called Mixed. So Mixed basically,
Mm.
for artists who are smaller, mixing and mastering is really hard, because like most of the time it's very expensive, and like
Mm.
you're not guaranteed like the sound or the style that you want. So this app and this program, like you get to pick like your sounds, and so they mix the song for you, and you have like a person. So
Mm.
basically they recorded me basically playing around with like some of the beats that I have for some songs that are going to come out in the year.
Yeah.
And so they just filmed me in my apartment, like what kind of like my DIY at home process looks like
Mm.
for making music. So that was
Yeah.
really cool. And I've never had that as an artist. And I feel like it was a really great portfolio piece that like when people do reach out to me for brand opportunities, I'm like,
Yeah.
look
Like.
what I have.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how's the songwriting process? Because I know like at least for I mean I'm not really into like the artist industry, or
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know much about it. And I know some artists
Mm-hmm.
like they have songwriters that do their songs. So for you, like how's that process for you, like writing your songs and that creativity to do
Yeah.
so?
Yeah. So a lot of times if the song doesn't come to me naturally, so like this is some people, not everyone, but sometimes I could be in the shower, I could be driving, and I'll just be like, I don't know, humming. I mean, because like when you love to sing, you sing a lot, so you even like make silly songs. But no, like some of the songs that are gonna come out this year were like they started from voice memos that I had made just like casually.
Mm.
So like there's one that I'm really excited about that I made like I wrote like maybe 2 weeks ago in the shower. So a lot of them come from like raw emotion from my experiences, and then
Mm.
there's another one that's gonna come out that the lyrics. Like we got the melodies and then we went back and then did the lyrics. So sometimes it's not in the studio, sometimes it's something that like I make outside of it, and then I'm going to someone saying like, okay, I have like these melodies and these lyrics, like let's try to build around this. Whereas like there are times where you're in the studio or when you're with someone that you create everything right there in that moment. So like for Very Well and Dímelo, me and my boyfriend made a bunch of music during the pandemic because like there was nothing else to do. And so like a lot of those moments just came naturally through conversation. So like we were talking about things, like Dímelo was like a reflection on things that we had like been learning through our relationship and like learning how to show up as better communicators. And so like that was a song that just came very natural. So like those ones were more like led by production where he was working on something and he was like, oh, this sounds like it's for you, do you like this? I'm like, yes. And so then you play around with melodies, you do like little tracks where you're not really saying things, you're more like singing like da-da-da, da-da-da. And then you're like, oh, okay, let's like find lyrics for it. And then you like, you start talking about what the song could be about, and then you start writing. And so same for Dímelo, that was the same way. Right now earlier I was writing a lot with my boyfriend, and so like now I've been trying to kind of just like play around with things on my own. We still write a lot together, and he does help me finish things because I think I'm still learning how to like finish a song. But for the next few ones that I have that are from voice memos, they're all written by me, and I'm really excited. So yeah, it just depends. I mean, I feel like it's very free form. Like I don't feel like I'm not like a structured writer, and I don't think I'll ever be. I think I'll always be a little bit messy in it, but it's like fun that way.
And that's I was gonna say that's like the fun part, like you find your process. What's your favorite like part of the whole music, or you being like a singer songwriter? Like, do you have a favorite part, or is it like, or your main things that from
my
that process?
favorite? I have a few things that are my favorite things to do. My favorite thing is like actually creating the music. So the day that you're in and like the production is already almost like finished and you're like going in, adding in like the verse, the chorus, adding like vocal stacks. Like I love that because it's so cool how you can really bring your voice to make like these really beautiful like moments. I don't know, I think it's just so cool, and I love the feeling of being in the studio and like expressing myself. I feel like it's like a freedom that I don't get with graphic design. Because like for me, graphic design over the years has just become like a means to make money and like be creative in like a different like form. But for me, music feels more personal. Music feels more like self-expression. It feels more like free. There's not a lot of, there's not boundaries in it. Whereas graphic design, like you can't like there's the composition, color contrast. There's a lot of things that you have to like keep in mind when you're doing graphic design. But for music, it's so like freeform. Like you could really make whatever genre of music you want right now, and that's okay. And I think that's so cool. I think my other favorite part of music is like visualizing it. Like how am I gonna help people connect with this? Because like I really want to make songs that like people are like, dang, this is like so like it makes me reflect, or it makes me feel good, or this was such a good moment. Like I really want my music to connect with people. So I think I always think about that when I'm in the writing process. So then when it comes to the visuals, I'm like, okay, like when I felt like this, what did that look like? Like for my next song that I'm working on, it's called 408, and it's basically like my struggle with feeling homesick away from home. And so like it's been so like fun planning the visuals because it's like I'm visualizing, like I'm creating visuals that match the feeling of feeling homesick. I went back home this weekend and filmed a bunch of footage of me walking around in places that are like super Orlando, and like only Orlando kids are gonna know like that feeling. So I think I just love, it's like movies. It's like your favorite movie you watch and you're like, oh, I love this movie because it makes me feel however. It makes me feel like, so I think like connection on like how the music translates to people is like, it's such a fun process for me. I'm like, I love that. So then, and then obviously being on set and like singing your song, filming it, doing it, getting like the outfits together, like it feels like theater to me. I think that's why I love like music video days is because like you're embodying that moment in your outfit and the makeup and the hair, however it is, and like it's just like it's a whole thing. It feels so it's so creative. I can't even put words to it because it's just like it feels like that moment before you get on stage and you like perform and you're like, yeah, I don't know, I love it. And then I'm singing live too. I love singing live. I think it's so fun. Like it's such a thrilling moment.
How is that? Like, I was gonna ask, how is going live, like performing in stages? Like, how did that happen? Like, how did it? Did you get the being able to do that, and then how was the experience overall?
Yeah, so I'm so blessed. Last year I got to perform, let's see, Miami, Atlanta, New York, and Atlanta again. So I was really lucky to have people that believed in Dimelo because they were like, this is a song you have to do live. So the first time, it's actually a really beautiful, like I could actually cry. It's like a full circle moment. The first time I ever performed was in Miami. It was with Danny Lay's sisters, and they're like a girl group, and Danny Lay was there, and it was like it was such a full circle moment because it was like I'm here doing my music, and you know she's there, and she's overcome a lot of stuff in her career, and she's a mom now, and so like when I saw her and we like met for the first time, it was like a heartwarming moment. She was like so proud of me, but like there wasn't a lot of words exchanged because it was like a club. It was so loud, but it was like a connecting moment. And it was like a dang, like wow, And so I got to perform Nimalo. It was only one song, but it was really fun. I was really nervous. It was my first time ever singing, but I knew like in my heart, I was like, this is a really beautiful full circle moment. So I'm going to show up and like just be myself. And even if I mess up, it's okay because I'm new, like it's not like there's this pressure to be perfect right now. So that was really beautiful. And then I performed in Atlanta for like a smaller show. So my friend, she like puts on events. And so I got to perform and I was like feeling way more confident. And then my third time, I actually tried to like enter this competition on TikTok. And basically there's this group called Big Ass Kids that's like funded by Pigeons and Planes, which is like a really big press article or press outlet for music. And so I like basically had to pitch my song and have people vote for Dimelo like a bunch of times. And so like Dimelo was like one of the most voted songs, and so they flew me out to New York. I got to perform, and I got to preview my next single, and yeah, it was cool because a lot of people liked my music, and I had my music videos in the background, and so a lot of people didn't have visuals, so everyone was like, yo, this girl is dope, like she's got everything, she's got the outfit, she's got the visuals, the music. So it was like a really encouraging moment for me because I was like, okay, I'm meant to do this. Like, this is for me. Like, I'm not just doing this because, like, whatever. Like, no, this is really, like, my thing. Like, I love it. And then I did another show for this fundraiser we did for Puerto Rico when the hurricane happened. And so I was the only artist to sing. And it was a really small fundraiser, but I performed at this venue in Atlanta. It's called Terminal West. And it's, like, basically one of like our biggest, like most valued venues. So portfolio wise on paper, I'm like, it doesn't really matter how many people came, but like I have experience. So yeah, I feel really blessed to have had those experiences early on, because I feel like this year, once I have more music and I start performing, like I'm gonna take a new vocal class because I want to like work on my my performance voice. And then I think it's just gonna be really fun. Like I think about it, I'm like, okay, I need band members. Like I want like a whole experience. So it makes me really excited. So that's kind of how it all happened. But I'm really looking to do more shows. Like once I drop like 2-3 more songs, like I want to go to Austin. I want to go to California, probably Florida, because that's where, and I think Chicago, because that's where I have most of my listeners. But and it makes me so excited.
No, I'm excited for you. I'm pretty sure, again, this like goes back with like manifestation. Like you could like feel the energy, the intention. So I'm pretty sure it's already happening. It's happening. So, yes.
It's so awesome. Exciting.
Oh yeah. Oh, my next, I guess, like section of the podcast is like money conversations, and I feel like I don't know if you're first gen, but just like coming with parents who came here, or pretty much like Hispanic, like the Hispanic communities, like we tend to not have a lot of money conversations. So for you, how has your relationship with money or how was your relationship with money, and how has it evolved, especially like being an artist and like doing all these projects? How do you how's your relationship with money now?
Yeah. So biggest thing is like we're Puerto Rican, so it's a little bit different than, but it's different, but it's the same. So like Puerto
Mm,
Rico is obviously part of the U.S., but there is a
yeah.
different lifestyle, like living on the island and living in the States. So like my
Yeah.
dad came to came to Florida when he was like 19 to join the military,
Oh wow.
and so he, my dad is a, I'm not gonna air him out, but he's a really interesting man. He's a very interesting man. So I think like there was a life that my grandma had worked so hard for in Puerto Rico. And so like she basically was able to build her own business to where she was buying and renting a lot of homes. And
Mm.
she came from like the freaking campo. Like she came from
Yeah.
the farms in Puerto Rico. Like her family worked on a coffee farm, and like her parents died really young. And so she had to figure her life out.
Oh
Like
wow.
she like was left with nothing. And so she basically had to like make ends meet, bought her first house, flipped it. And so like she carved out a really beautiful life for my dad and my uncle, but I think my dad just wasn't interested in that yet. And so
Mm.
he wanted to leave and go to Florida. He joined the Marines, and then he wanted to be a chef, and then he wanted to make music, and then he's kind of all over the place. And then eventually, to be honest, like I think he had a very unstable career. So like for him, finances were very like spending money.
Mm.
Yeah, he was not good with finances at all. And so I didn't really learn that. And
Yeah.
I think like the way that I grew up, like living with my mom, because my dad was a little bit more youthful and free form. Like my mom, she married another Puerto Rican man. And so we basically struggled for a really long time because my mom hadn't worked, and she ended up having more kids with my stepdad. And so it was just a lot of us. And so, like, at the end of the day, like, I am so initiative and I am such a hustle mindset because, like, my parents could only provide what they were able to provide because, one, there were so many of us, and two, like, my dad wasn't really as financially supportive in the earlier years of my life. So I had to like get a job at 16 and kind of like hustle my way through everything. He did his best, but I think my dad just had he had a rough young adulthood. So where like, I don't think he really knew how to like be a dad or be a dad in the more traditional sense. I think he
Yeah.
knew how to be a fun dad. But I think for me, like, I'd say like if we're talking like first gen, figuring out that money, like my dad didn't prepare me to save money. My mom, she didn't really know how to like handle finances because like she's trying to handle like, all her kids and her new husband. So I think like I had to figure everything out on my own. And when you're like the oldest child, that's like like the older sister thing. That like is real. Like that's not no joke. Like being the older sister is like having a full-time job. Like not only are you the emotional support to like your mother, but you're also like raising your siblings, and then you're also like raising yourself, and then you have to get a job so you can like pay for all the things that you want to have. Like, when you're older, you're like, I want a car, I want to go out, I want to do this, but then you have to get a job, and you get a job, and then you're like, I'm never not gonna have a job. Like once you get a job, that's it, you're always gonna have a job because you need money. And once you have money, it's like, all right, I can't not have money. So I
Yeah.
think for me, like my experience with finances was very hard. And only in the last 2-3 years have I actually learned how to like save.
Mm.
I've learned how to like generate income to like fund my music, like you were asking. So like with selling my merch and the little money that I get from streams, it's really not a lot, but I put all that back into the music. And then, I also save for it because it is something I want to do. So I do take on like freelance graphic design work where it's like, oh, I'm going to make a cover art for another artist, or I'm going to like, edit their music video, or I'm going to, I don't know, do some flyers for them. Like I fund my music with that. And then I have a full-time job right now where I'm a graphic designer. And so that covers like the basis of all my like every day-to-day monthly finances, and then whatever I make in freelance, I can decide how I want to like delegate that. So
Mm.
within the last 2 years, I've had to figure this all out because I was struggling, and I was like, all right, I want to have a home one day. Like I think that was one
Mm.
thing that I was like, I did see my parents work really hard to like have, was getting a home. And I don't think they did things in the best way, but I'm like, I know what I would want to do when I get home, and I know how I want to, you know, be able to like flip that like my grandmother, and like, you know, kind of maybe go more into her steps of how she is, because my grandmother, she worked very, very hard, and like she's not rich, but she took care of herself and she's good. And I'm like, I want what she has. She knows exactly what she was doing, and she hustled her way in Puerto Rico. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. She was a real estate investor. So
yes,
that's
she
awesome.
was. She really was. I mean, she's wise, so wise, and it's just so encouraging, because I'm like, all right, I don't have that many people to look up to, but you know.
No, yeah. I feel like for me, I've also had that like even like right now I'm struggling with my finances, but I really worked on the mindset stuff, and having that abundance mindset is like really important.
Yes.
And then like doing your research on, I've been reading a bunch of books like The Psychology of Money, The Simple Path to Wealth, which is like investing on index funds and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
So like I think it's like really important like for us like to talk more about money and just
Yes.
normalizing it, and not being ashamed of like our experiences as well is like super important. Yeah. But yeah, that's awesome. And with real estate investing, like, yeah, that's definitely like a thing like I really should do. Like one of the podcasts that I did recently, she mentioned how it should be like a right. So yeah, everybody should like have a home, and obviously like it's really important like to know how, because there's a lot of logistics into that and all of that. And even like with whatever we want to do, there's like a lot of things you gotta learn, but like taking step by step.
Yeah, definitely researching is the first thing. Like 2 years ago, I was like, okay, I want to own a home. What do I need to do? And I was like, oh, I need a W-2, because freelance is going to be like 5 years to buy a house. So then I was like, all right, I got to get a job. So I got a job, and I was like, okay, I have my income. Now I'm like, all right, what's next? Oh, my credit score. I'm like, oh, okay, my credit's not like all the way there, but now in a year, I'm like, oh yeah, I really did it. So little by little, I'm crossing things off the list, but it's a lot of stuff that you would never know unless you don't look at like YouTube videos or read books. Like, so that's been like how I've been able to save money. Is there was what's her name, mom
budget.
Yes. I watched her videos on how to budget, because I was spending too much money on groceries and like supplies to shower and clean. Like I found a really, like I ordered certain things on Amazon because it makes more sense. And like in a couple months I'm gonna move, and then I'm gonna get a Costco membership, so that I'm like actually saving money on like cleaning supplies and like, you know, stuff that you are gonna spend $4 on in the store versus you get it for $30 and it lasts you like way longer than that. So it's just stuff that you don't really, you're not thinking about that. Like you're over here like, oh yeah, I want to go see so and so in concert. Like, you know, you really got to teach yourself how to like figure this stuff out.
Yeah. And it goes back to like watching videos and all that, educating.
Yes. Education is so powerful. It is such a powerful tool. Very powerful. But yeah.
All right, my last two questions are well, my first question before the second question is for those who like feel like in no se lo merecen, that they don't deserve like starting something, a career, becoming a singer, a songwriter, like whatever it is, like what advice would you give them, or a pep talk like that they could listen to, and like hopefully they're like, okay, I'll start, I'll take the first step. What would you tell them?
Something really beautiful that someone shared with me one time, and it really opened me up, is that like it's a sad reality, but it's a real reality. It helps you work towards the things you want. But like a lot of these spaces were never carved out for people like us. A lot of these jobs and careers were never like, we're the new generation to where like we get to become the face of these like positions that like our families and other generations and other people were never able to fill. Like they were genuinely like created for like white working American people. And so as the years have progressed, those people have had to conform. So these roles have had to become more diverse. Like diversity hires are a real thing. Like being proud of where you come from is now a valuable marketing tool. Like being not white is like popular, and it's like it's really shitty to say, but it's just reality, is that like now people want people with curly hair. Now people want people with bodies that are more curvier. Now people want different faces for brands and different celebrities that aren't white and don't have like white privilege. Like
Yeah.
now is the time that we are valued, appreciated, and maybe, you know, there are still things that are corrupt because it's the world and that's just how life is, but there is space for us. And so if there was ever a time to do the things that you love, it is now, because now people are like, we want the Mexican American, we want the girl from Honduras, like we want the girl from Guatemala, whoever, like Dominican Republic, like, you know, we want more Latine, like Latino artists, like we want more creatives, like they want
Yeah.
more, you know, however you identify, but really, like, you know, I know they're looking for like more female music directors, like more
Mm-hmm.
people in production, like, you know, whoever it is, obviously however you identify is fine, but it's like, it's just that idea that it has become so open. It
Yeah.
has become so accepting. And because there have been people before us that have paved the way for many years, they've created smaller communities and have fought fights for us that like younger generations are able to like truly enjoy. And like the more people join, the more people pursue their passions, you're paving the way for like future generations, and you're going to make it 10 times easier for, you know, the other like Mexican American or Puerto Rican or Dominican kids
Yeah.
later on, and you know, the years to come. But it's so beautiful because there is space, the space is welcome, there are a lot of people advocating for people like us now, and
Yeah.
a lot of these companies have had to conform because they've been canceled or they've been called out, and that's just the reality. A lot of people aren't going to take it anymore. And so if there was ever a time to do everything you love, it is now, because we have the education, we have the resources. I mean, even if you don't have anyone in your family or friends or close proximity to guide you, there is information out there that
Yeah.
is already set up for you to find. You just need to be curious. Like you need to be
Mm-hmm.
excited and motivated, and, you know, give yourself the chance. I think a lot of people, like, because they come from small towns or because they've never seen anyone do it, there's that natural fear. So I think if you can push past the fear and say like, I deserve this, I am worthy of this, and change your mindset of how like you get to experience life. Like it's your opportunity to get the most out of life. Like no one else is going to get the quality of life for you. You have to do
Yeah.
that for yourself. Like if you see something and you want it, like you have the opportunity to do it. There are tools available to you. You just have to like desire it for yourself. And if that means like taking a month to say like, okay, maybe those things feel really big, I'm going to just empower myself. Like I am worthy to go on a walk. I am worthy to wake up and be excited about my day. Like I'm worthy to have people in my life that truly value and cherish me and encourage and build me. And if that's like your first step, do that. And then as time progresses, like you're like, no, I deserve to have a higher pay. So I'm gonna quit my job and go get another job because like
Yeah.
I deserve that. I'm a hard worker. Or like, I don't know, I want to make music, but I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna watch YouTube videos. I'm gonna buy some equipment. I'm gonna figure things out. I'm gonna like
Mm-hmm.
see who's in my local community and who would be down to like, you know, teach me or work with me, or even like take a piano class from like an old lady. Like, you know, like you just have to really be, you really have to give yourself a chance. I think that's the one thing I've learned is that like you don't want to be, you know, years down the road and be like, dang, I wish I would have done that, you know? And I think you can do anything at any age. I feel like now is
Yeah.
like so encouraging of, you know, that idea that like you don't have to be a specific age to do something. Like I think as long as you have that inner self-talk and that inner positivity and that excitement, like you deserve it, go after it. And like no one can tell you different because there have been other people who have been in your shoes
Yeah.
so many times before. So yeah, I think that's how I feel about
No,
that.
that's such an awesome pep talk. And
Yeah.
then my second question would be, through this whole journey that you like with graphic design, with being a singer songwriter, what were like those top, let's say top three experiences, but you have more like that you really cherish and it's like wow,
Mm.
I can't believe that happened. Yeah, what are those?
I'd say the first one is dropping my first song because I think that takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there, especially being that like people have known me as a graphic designer for like, I mean, at that time it was like 7 years that people
Mm.
had, 7 or 8, no, 7 or 6, I don't remember, one of them. Like, you know, like people knew me for a long time as doing graphic design. So I think just having the courage to like pivot and like like publicize that instead of my art, you know, as like my
Yeah.
main thing. I think that took a lot of courage. So like one, that was a beautiful step in the best direction because like I gave myself the chance, I did it, and no one could take that away from me, you know? And like, this is like how I decide to like live my life. So I think that was really beautiful, and that's something that I hold close to me, because not only was it like a powerful and beautiful song and video, but it was like that was my first step into the industry. And so no one can take that away from me. No one can tell me that that song wasn't good, because even if they don't like it genre wise, it's like that's a beautifully empowered, you know, moment, not only in my personal life, but like for other people to experience, you know. And I think my second one was um the success that Dimelo had. Like the first day I had like 30,000 streams. Like
Wow.
it was cool because it reminded me that there's like other people out there like me. Like I'm very Spanglish, like I'm very like, you know, like, you know, no sabo kid, like, you know, like it's the reality, like, you know, like it's real, but like I still identify so much as that. Like people see me and they immediately are like, oh yeah, like of course you're Latina. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really excited to like, you know, share that. So I think like making that song was like such a beautiful moment for me, because it was like, one, it was like, it's like this is who I am, this is where I come from, and two, like I get to be myself, I get to make like bilingual and Spanglish music, and like there are people for that, because there are other kids like me that, you know, like have my experiences. And so I think one, like showing up authentically as myself as a Latina, and like being able to like, you know, pay homage to like my roots, you know, and the island and all that, I think that was really beautiful. And then just it doing so well and people receiving it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I mean, we knew it was gonna do good, but we didn't know it was gonna do that good. And like I'm like, that's like my most streamed song, and like people love it. And it's such a deep song. It is a deep song. It is about like trust issues. It is about like communication. It is about like, you know, like learning to love someone. It's like a very, very reflection based song. And so for that to be like the song that's doing really well is exciting, because I'm like, I can't wait to make more deep music, you know, as long as it like is a vibe, obviously. But that makes me really excited. I'm really proud of myself. And then I think the third one is that show in New York, because it like reminded me that like there's space for me. I am really like the only one of myself doing this, which is really cool, because, you know, I think there are a lot of different artists that maybe are very similar, but like I think for me, like I am different. I'm still indie, but I have like pop influenced sounds, but then I'm also like still a quirky, you know, quirky like weird kid, which I think is so, I feel like that feels so special to me. So like being able to have that opportunity to make music, to have a beautiful performance, and be so encouraged by like the people in the crowd. Like people were like, yo, you did so good. I love your music. I love your visuals. Like it was just so affirming that I'm like exactly where I need to be, and I'm like in the right direction. So I think so far those have been like my most cherished moments. They're like my little, whenever I'm feeling really low and insecure, I'm like, no, it's okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a reminder for those who are listening, like, if you haven't listened to her songs, like go listen to it after this episode. For those who are for those who are listening, I want to support you, want to go check out your social medias, all that. Like, what are your social media handles?
Yeah, so my name's Cassandra, but I spell it weird because it's way too long. So it's Csndra. So that's like my main artist name. So like that's my Spotify, my Apple, and then my middle name is Jolie. So that's like what I've been putting on all my handles for socials. Just Cassandra Jolie. So it's Jolie, like Angelina Jolie. But yeah, that's all my stuff. Yeah, I have TikTok, I have Instagram, I have Twitter, but I don't really use it like that. I think I'm transitioning more to like maybe just fully TikTok and maybe YouTube Shorts. Instagram, I'm trying to figure it out right now. I don't even know what I'm doing on there. I'm like, I don't understand. I don't know what they're trying to do, so I don't know as a user what to do.
Same.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I've actually been posting like clips for my podcast on Instagram, but it literally gets like 20, 30, like 40. Yeah. I'm like, I already posted 38. Like, what else do you want? Yeah. And in TikTok, it's easier. So
yes.
Yeah, I prefer TikTok. Yeah. For same. Now, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah. For those who are listening, don't forget to give us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because that really supports the podcast. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, all of that, because again, it supports the podcast. And with that being said, Cassandra, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so for like you're like the first artist that interviews. That's super exciting. But yeah, thank you so much. And you're always welcome back. Like when you're like a millionaire and a success, like I'll be such closing that cycle of like all the success that you've had. It'll be so awesome. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.